to a Wednesday edition of the High Noon Stream with me, Pugs Moran. We do this each and every day, Monday through Friday. High noon is the time. That's Central Standard Time. What do we do here? Well, we like to give you all the things that are happening today. Just a little bit of we're having a conversation here. A little bit about, we start out with, we tell you what the history of the day is. We just, not everything, because a lot's happened in however long you think the earth has been around, lots has happened. So we pick a couple of things and we remind you of why today is, special, memorable. Then we go into some birthdays. We talk about the people who are celebrating birthdays today, and we discuss their contributions very quickly. We don't spend too much time on any one person. Then we mourn a couple of the passings of people who have made contributions to our world. All of the things that have occurred in this day, I try to give you the day. Then, and only then, when we're satisfied that we understand the past, we move into the present, and we run through all the things that are trending, whether it's on Google trends or Twitter trends or Facebook trends, whether it's a headline on one of the news aggregators, whatever it is. If it is a hot topic, a current event, a headline, something that people are buzzing about, we try to give it to you every day right here, starting at noon with High Noon with me, Pugs Moran, here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. A little bit of a note, though, today. Hold on, let me get this stuff all going. It's going to be a shorter show than normal. I have a last-minute meeting that I must attend this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So we're probably going to do about a solid hour. We'll run through everything, and then we'll have to rally back here tonight because we do a second stream at 9 o'clock. It's myself and James Parker. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. That comes on at 9 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday. Last night, we had our first annual, the much hyped. We've been talking about it for a while. Well, actually, we'd only been talking about it on the air for about a week or two, but we it's been an idea for a while. We did our first ever Pugs and Parker Trivia Challenge night. Last night was 80s and 90s trivia. We appreciate all you folks in the chat room who came and had some fun. You can see that show simply by going to pugscast.com, pugscast.com. That's a shortcut. That's just a quick little link that'll deliver you right to our YouTube page for all the past shows. So last night, if you missed the trivia showdown between myself and James Parker, you can watch the whole thing. We're not going to tell you about how it was very competitive. Say that it was very, very competitive. Here's what I think, though. I think that I had an advantage, and maybe I took advantage of the advantage or didn't recognize the advantage until later tonight. I don't know. If you want to watch the show, you can go back and see who wins because it was very competitive. But here's the thing. I was answering questions about the 1990s, which is the decade that James came of age. And James was answering questions about the 1980s, which is the decade that I came of age. And we thought that was fair because, but I don't think it is fair. I don't think it was fair to James because he was a baby. He was like little in the 80s. Like he wasn't paying attention to things. So when he was forced to answer questions about what I experienced during the 80s, he didn't have, he would just have to simply know it from history, not from actually experiencing it. Whereas the 90s, which I was still a grown-up. I mean, I was alive in the 90s. I just think that I probably had an advantage in that I was more aware of the stuff that was happening in the 90s, even if it wasn't my fun zone, even if it wasn't right where, my wheelhouse would be the 80s. And I was a little bit concerned that I wouldn't be able to answer as many 90s questions as 80s questions. But, as I'm laying in bed last night thinking about it, I'm like, dude, he had an advantage. He had an advantage, and we need to fix that the next time we do trivia. We need to really think this through. But anyway, it was fun. We had a good time. Last night was the first Pugs and Parker Trivia Challenge. You can find that at pugscast.com. Hi, Jeff. Jeff is here. Jennifer's here. Melissa's here. Leslie's here. Byron's here. April's here. Al's here. Everybody's coming into the chat room. Come on. Let's go. Put out the bat signal, or the chat signal, whatever the hell you want to call it. Who was first in today? Who was first in? First in is Jeff. Jeff Ballard, first in. Give him credit. Love it. All right, let's get into what today is. Let's not waste any time because, as I said, this is going to be a bit shorter of a show today as I've got a last-minute meeting that came up this afternoon, so I apologize for that. Let's see here. It is high noon for the 19th day of October, year of our Lord, 2022. October 19th is the 292nd day of the year. 73 more of these rat bastards until we get to celebrate 2023. So, as we like to say around here, get those New Year's Eve plans in order. I am anticipating at some point the dog interrupting this show because she has not been in here all morning, and this is normally the time where she likes to come in and lay on the floor and just listen to me talk about nothing to nobody. I'm fascinated by what the dog thinks is happening here because I don't believe that the dog has an understanding of what the internet is. I don't believe that the dog... Although maybe it's no different than when the dog watches you on the phone, right? Like the dog's like, "What are you talking to me? Are you talking to? Who are you talking?" I don't know. Anyway, just be prepared for that. I may have to step away for 10 seconds to, let the dog in. Let's see. Let's go into some of the history of today. On this day in 1781, during the American Revolutionary War, the siege of Yorktown comes to an end. All right, that was a good. Was that in our favor? I don't know. I don't want to click it. We can't be spending time on this kind of stuff. On this day in 1789, John Jay is sworn in as the first Chief Justice of the United States. Congratulations, John Jay. They've destroyed your institution. On this day in 1960, the United States imposes a near-total trade embargo against Cuba. Cuba. That's how I pronounce it because I just watched Scarface with my 13-year-old son. We call it Cuba. Cuba, not Cuba. No, that's American. You got to show them the respect of the way they pronounce their own country. Cuba. All right. On this day in 1973, President Nixon rejects an appeals court decision that he turn over the Watergate tapes. No, I reject that decision. All right. On this day in 1987, Black Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average falls by 22% or 508 points. Now, that is a crazy example of how much wealth has been accumulated by the money wealth accumulators since 1987. In 1987, 508 points, a drop of 508 points constituted 22% of the Dow Jones. 508 points, 22%. That means the entire volume was like 2,500. I don't know, something like that. I don't do the math. I can't do the math on that, but it's close. So we're now over 30,000. In 1987, it was at, let's say 2,500. Let's say that's where they opened. If the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 2,500 today, let's just say that the entire country would be on fire. Things would be burning down. People would be jumping out of windows. 508-point drop is massive by by the volume that it was trading at in 1987. Today, it drops it might be 508 points down now. Hold on. Let me see here. Let me see what it is. Every day it's 500 points down. Dow Jones Industrial Average. Let's see where we're at right now. Good. Jeez, of course, I couldn't help myself. I had to say, let's see where we are right now. So that screwed up my Google search. Let's see where we're at today. We're down. Okay. So we're down 253 at the moment. At the moment, we're down 253, but the volume is 30,267. All right. So being down 256. Now we're down 256. Being down 256 is nothing. It is absolutely nothing. If we were down 508, the way it was when it destroyed the world for a brief period of time during Black Monday, my God. Okay, so what would let's say 25%. Okay, because I'm stupid. So okay, now I got to do 25% of 30 at 15,000. 15. So if the Dow Jones would have to crash by like 13,000 points today to be anywhere, and that's not going to happen. It's not, we panic when it crashes 800 points. Imagine 13,000 points. That's how much wealth has been accumulated in this country by a certain group of people who work on Wall Street. And look, to be fair, it has to a degree increased the individual wealth of regular people. But man, I'm just telling you, the way the economy has grown and exploded, 30,000 today. It was 2,500 when it dropped 508 points on Black Monday in 1987. All right, let's see here. Who else do we have? What else do we have today? On this day in 2003, Mother Teresa is beatified by Pope John Paul II, which is part of the process of becoming a saint. Is that the final process? I don't remember. Oh my God. We actually had a quiz on this in Catholic school in 7th grade at my crazy boarding school I was sent to. It was a Catholic military boarding school. So, not a whole lot of fun to be had there. And his beatification, the final step. Canonization. Canonization is the final step in becoming the other day, a caller to mansplaining was talking about how women basically have done nothing, which, by the way, was an interesting conversation to have in history. He's like, where's the female Edison? Where's the female? Women have contributed nothing, right? So, by the way, just a word to the wise, that's not what mansplaining is about, the show that I do with Dr. Robert Schwartz on 97.1 The Freak. The name is tongue-in-cheek. The name is just two guys talking about what it's like to be a guy and trying to explain why we're so the way we are. That's what it is. It's not like, all right, ladies, listen up. We're going to tell you why we're misogynist. That's not what it is. Neither myself, raised by a single mom who thinks that women are capable of doing anything, or my partner, one of the most successful plastic surgeons in America. Neither of us are misogynists. I mean, his client, he works with women every day. He's like one of the most female-friendly dudes you'll ever meet. So a dude calls into the show. Although he will call people out regardless of their gender, which is why I love Schwartz. So a caller said, what did women ever do? And I threw out Mother Teresa. And he goes, she didn't do nothing. I just thought, okay, all right. You can't get blood from a stone, right? There's no change in somebody who has the idea in his head that women have contributed nothing to the greater culture. What are we going to have? We have a conversation about how women weren't even allowed to go to college until like the 1800s. Are we going to have a conversation about, the popularly accepted roles in society up until really the 1970s, when women started working, when women started gaining independence, when women's. So I don't want to. It's just, that is such a reductive way to look at the world, that because over the course of recent history, and by recent I mean the last 100 years of public school education, we've heard nothing but the contributions of white guys from Europe, which have been great, but we don't know anything about the contributions of people from other parts of the world, Asia. We don't know anything about, we just don't. We were never taught that. That wasn't something that, so that's why, and I always laugh at the Google Doodles, because every day Google Doodle is trying to, tell us about somebody else who did something great that we've never heard of. I make fun of the Google Doodles, but, to an extent, I'm like, I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting. How come I've never heard of her before? How come I've never heard of this Argentinian scientist before? How come I just assumed that it was a white guy at DuPont Labs who invented that? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's a very complicated situation. But for anyone to say about Mother Teresa, what did she do? I mean, tell me you're a broken individual without telling me you're a broken individual. That's a statement that just, it's insane. On this day so happy Beatification Day, Saint Mother Teresa. On this day in 2005, Saddam Hussein goes on trial in Baghdad for crimes against humanity. Was that a speedy trial? I don't remember. Here's what I remember about, I don't remember the trial. I mean, maybe I do, but what I really remember is I got off a plane And you know how when you get off a plane and you walk through, like, right, you walk through, what is that? The air walkway where the plane connect, that little slinky thing that connects to the plane and you walk through it. It's like a little temporary hallway. So I'm walking through that, I'm dragging my bags, and I get into, the waiting area for the boarding gate, and all the TVs are on, and all the TVs are, of course, always on some form of news. And every TV, and people were standing around the TV, and it was breaking news. Just as I was getting off the plane, it was breaking news of the execution of Saddam Hussein. I don't remember, like, this wasn't like a long trial. I mean, this wasn't like, right? It wasn't. It was, all right, how do you plead? I plead not guilty. Yeah, we see it differently. Hang him! And then he was gone. Which, that's fine. I don't even know why we gave him a trial. We knew what he was up to. We were at war with him. Cut off the head of the snake, I say. But there you go. I'll never forget that, getting off the plane and going, what's going on? And dude's like, yeah, they just hung Saddam Hussein. I'm like, they feed him to the lions too? Because that would have been my vote. Let's see here. So let's talk about some birthdays. Let's celebrate some birthdays. Some people who were born on this day in history who have contributed to our overall culture and well-being, and sometimes some really bad guys, although not necessarily today. Born on this day in 1932, Robert Reed, American actor, died in 1992. Mr. Brady. One of those guys who, after the fact, we found out was a gay man. Not that it's any of our right, but he was a good one. Rock Hudson was like, as far as the Main Street perception of what a gay man was. It wasn't Rock Hudson when Rock Hudson did. When people found out Rock Hudson were gay, they were like, wait, what? He was like macho, and he was like a tough guy, and girls liked him. His name was Rock, But Robert Reed was a different one. Robert Reed was America's dad. He was Mr. Brady. He seemed like, the greatest, isn't he a great guy? He's such a good dad. Well, turns out that he was a gay man. And one wonders if these people, well, then again, would society have accepted it? I'm like, well, if Robert Reed had come out in 1965 when he was a young actor, probably wouldn't have been cast as Mr. Brady. So I don't know. But imagine if it had been that early where we have been accepted. Couldn't be that early because we just weren't there. We as a people, we have to get there. We have to get there over attrition and over time. And we have to, we have biases. We do. We have biases based on how we're raised. We have biases based on the culture that we live in. We have biases based on society in general. And sometimes society just isn't ready for that stuff. Robert Reed died on this day in 1992, but born on this day in 1930. No, born on this day in 1932. Did not die on this day. I'm sorry. Born on this day in 1937, Peter Max, German-American illustrator. Peter Max is a cool-ass artist. And I have an original Peter Max, and I have been waiting for Peter Max to die because it might be worth something after he dies. Years ago, we had Peter Max on the radio show with us. He was coming through town. He was doing an exhibition of his work. And he was on the show, and we got into a conversation. I don't even remember what the conversation was. But we kind of vibed. We kind of like had a nice little moment there. And as we were talking, he's constantly doodling. He was doodling something. And as we're talking, he goes, "Are you married?" I'm like, No. He's like, you got any kids? I go, nah, no, not yet. And he's drawn. And we're talking, and he's drawn. It's like he's not even thinking about what he's drawn. And he goes, "How about pets? You got any pets?" I'm like, yeah, I got a dog named Blue. He's like, "Oh, what kind of dog is it?" I go, "It's a Husky Timberwolf hybrid." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he's drawn. He's like, "Oh." And then we finished our conversation, and as he's walking out, he goes, "Oh, here." And he signs the doodle Max, and he gives it to me. And I'm looking at it, and I go, and as he's walking out the door, he goes, "That's an original." He goes, "That's for you. Thank you." And I go, "Whoa! Oh my God!" And it's a Peter Max scribble, but it's and it's got some things. Hey, it's got his signature on it. That's like the most important thing. That little doodle on a piece of paper like this has been framed and locked away. It is in my shoebox of life. The things, the important things that you have in your shoebox. So I don't know. Maybe when he dies, I'll put it up on eBay. Maybe I'll get something for it. I don't know. Probably be worth more than the paper it's written on. That's for sure. Happy birthday, Peter Max. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. But, let's see here. In 1944, born on this day, Peter Tosh, Jamaican-American singer and songwriter. He was not Bob Marley. This is a thing with white suburban guys. When I was in college, a Peter Tosh song would come on and some dude would be like, I love Bob Marley. I'm like, no, dude, they're not all the same. This is not Bob Marley. This is Peter Tosh. Born on this day in 1945, John Lithgow. I love John Lithgow. John Lithgow's awesome. He's talk about a baller of an actor. That dude does everything great. You guys watch The Crown? No, of course you don't. Maybe some of you do. I love The Crown. I love The Crown because I love history, and it's one of the best shows about history since World War II that it's the world as seen through the eyes of the Queen. So it's not like Downton Abbey. It's not just all about palace intrigue and all that. No, it's about the Queen and how she handled everything from the Vietnam War to, the different presidential elections and how that affected her and her relationships. And it's just really fascinating. It's a fascinating show. John Lithgow played Winston Churchill in the first season of The Crown. And was he good? Oh, was he good, man? I don't know who was better. I don't know who was better on The Crown. John Lithgow as Winston Churchill or Gillian Anderson as Margaret Thatcher. They were both so great. Happy birthday, John Lithgow. I think you're awesome. And you know what else? Never watched Third Rock from the Sun. I know that's his big television hit that he's probably still living off of. But no, I like John Lithgow, the movie actor. Born on this day in 1962, Evander Holyfield, American boxer and actor, former heavyweight champion of the world, got his ear bit off by Mike Tyson. Evander Holyfield. Let's see. Born on this day in 1966, Jon Favreau. Now, this is the other there's two Jon Favreaus, and it's like, how can there be two Favreau? How can there be? I mean, John's a common name, but Favreau, not so much. How can two Jon Favreaus be famous? One is a presidential speechwriter and Democratic operative, Jon Favreau. He wrote a lot of Obama's speeches. And then the other is Jon Favreau, the guy from Swingers. Jon Favreau, the guy from the Marvel Universe. Jon Favreau, the director. It's Jon Favreau, the guy from the Marvel Universe. Jon Favreau, the director, who is celebrating a birthday today. 1966, Jon Favreau was born. Your money, baby. Yeah. Remember when every douche-tard in the world was saying that? Remember, your money, baby. Your money. Remember that? That was like a thing. Oh, God. Your money, baby. It kind of replaced, yeah, baby, from Austin Powers. Oh, God. That's a list we can make. Let's make a list of all of the things that people say from movies that became, in a certain period of time, just so overused. Your money is definitely one of them. Ooh. By the way, an indicator, a little shortcut that I use to determine if someone that I've met is a person who thinks they're funny but really isn't funny. That isn't that exhausting. Is it? You should talk. Yeah, I know. I'm not so much funny as I'm just a storyteller, and maybe my stories have some humor in them, but I'm not funny. You know what I mean? But if a guy is hanging out with me and at some point he throws down an Austin Powers line or a Borat line, right? Borat or Austin Powers in 2022. I'm like, oh God, you're not funny. Oh my God, you have no idea. Anyway, moving on. Jon Favreau, happy birthday. How about somebody else who has severely impacted our culture these past 25 years? Probably 25, maybe more than that. Maybe we're going on 30 years now. Yeah, close to 30 years. Trey Parker, born on this day in 1969, American actor, animator, producer, and screenwriter. Trey Parker, of course, along with his partner, Matt Stone, creators of South Park. Look, they've done a whole lot. Team America World Police. How great is that movie? Team America World Police, which, by the way, I think just celebrated an anniversary of its release. That movie just gets better and better with age. Trey Parker celebrating a birthday today. I think you are an absolute auteur. Born on this day in 1976. If I was forced to make a list of my favorite Texas Rangers of all time, we'd have Walker at the top. No, these are baseball players, not actual law enforcement officials. My favorite Texas Rangers of all time. This guy, I'd be hard pressed to find somebody that I enjoyed playing more than this guy. Happy birthday to Michael Young. Michael Young, he's now in the Rangers front office. I loved Michael Young, born on this day in 1976. Born on this day in 1977, Jason Reitman. Jason Reitman, Canadian-American director, producer, and screenwriter. What did he do? What did Jason Reitman do? He's done a lot of things. Up in the Air, I think that was his. That's a good movie. What's another one he did? I can't really think of it. He is the son of Ivan Reitman. And all I can say to you, Jason Reitman, is happy birthday. Your dad is trending today because he's being Me Too'd, even though he's dead. There you go. We'll get to that in the trending topics. Deaths. Let's celebrate some deaths today. Don Cherry. Innovated, highly influential American jazz trumpet player. Who's Don Cherry? Yeah, I know. You don't know. I'm not a jazz guy either, but I knew the name. Don Cherry, one of the most important trumpet players in the history of jazz. You may not know his name, but he had a couple of kids who you might know. Do you remember Nana Cherry? Buffalo Stance. Remember her? Nana Cherry had herself a hit. She's the daughter of Don Cherry. And then her little brother, Eagle Eye Cherry, had a hit with Save Tonight. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Okay, so you may not know Don Cherry, but his two kids had a couple of big hit singles and then really nothing else. Nana with Buffalo Stance and Eagle Eye with Save Tonight. Also dead on this day. Let's see here. This is a sad one. This is a sad one for all of us. All of us kids from the 80s, that's for sure. On this day in 2010, American actor Tom Bosley died. Tom Bosley. Bad day for America's favorite TV dads. Well, not a bad day because I guess it's the birthday of Robert Reed, Mr. Brady. But today, Tom Bosley died. Tom Bosley, of course, Mr. Cunningham from Happy Days. Who didn't want Mr. Cunningham as a dad? Mr. Cunningham was awesome. I loved Mr. Cunningham. Tom Bosley, dead. I don't know what else he did. I don't know. It was always confusing to me as a little child that two of my favorite shows had an actor who portrayed Mr. C named Tom Bosley. And in my other favorite show, Charlie's Angels, had a guy named Bosley who kind of looked like him. So it was very confusing to me. Dead on this day in 2016, Phil Chess. Phil Chess. Do you know who Phil Chess is? One of the most important people in the history of American music, certainly a major contributor to our culture. Phil Chess is the Czech-American record producer and co-founder of Chess Records with his brother. Chess Records, famous for what were known at the time as race records. Phil Chess was a guy who was recording music and was having difficulty having it sold. And then he realized that a lot of people were asking for, music that wasn't being produced anywhere else. And it was, Phil Chess is probably as responsible for what is known as blues or electric blues or Chicago blues in America. Phil Chess recorded Howlin' Wolf. Phil Chess recorded Muddy Waters. Phil Chess recorded Buddy Guy. Phil Chess recorded all of those great American electric blues artists. And also then recorded everybody from the Rolling Stones to Eric Clapton. I mean, they all came to record at Chess Studios on South Michigan Avenue there in Chicago. Phil Chess, might not know his name, but real important to rock and roll, real important to music. If it weren't for Phil Chess, guys like Keith Richards and Mick Jagger and, Eric Clapton and, Jeff Beck and all of these people, if it weren't for Phil Chess and his decision to record black artists, I don't know, would we have the Rolling Stones? Would we have Eric? Because it was those imports to England, or exports from America, but imports to England that these guys, the British invasion guys, found and said, oh my God, we've got to cover this Howlin' Wolf song, or we've got to cover this Muddy Waters song, or we've got to. So there you have it. Phil Chess, very important guy in the history of American culture, and certainly world culture, and certainly rock and roll. All right, let's talk about some of the things that are trending as we're running out of time on today's show. We're going to run through these things really quickly. Let's see here. Al says, I remember Tom Bosley Glad trash bag commercials. And you know what? I didn't either until just now. Oh, what do we got? A porn bot? Yeah, don't click on that stuff. Don't, don't, All right, Adam Morena, throwing shade at Michael Young. That's fine. Whatever, dude. Whatever. He's an awesome guy. He's a great teammate, leader. He was great, in my opinion. But we are allowed, you see, to have opposite opinions. By the way, Adam, I've been meaning to talk to you. Did you go off half cocked yesterday on something that I posted on Twitter? I tried to walk you off the ledge twice, suggesting that maybe you hadn't watched the video, and then nothing. It was a comedy video, man. There was no need for you to go where you went, but I think you did that thing that I think you do a lot, which is you went off half cocked with your preconceived notions. I love Adam, but he's not very open minded, and he's one of those not open minded people that thinks they're very open minded, which is irritating. But we love him. Let's see. Let's get into the trends. Let's talk about this one. Martial law is trending. Vladimir Putin is declaring martial law in the areas of what is it? Donetsk and Kherson and all of the areas that he thinks he has control over, because he's placed these pro-Russian sort of politicians, governors, they're being called, in place. He's declaring martial law in these areas. So the areas that he's like, hey, we've just invaded your area, and we're going to free you from the horrible Ukrainian ways, and we're going to bring you back into the warm folds of Mother Russia. And martial law until further notice. So we'll see. I mean, that's an indication that he doesn't think he has as firm a grip on these areas as on these regions as maybe he wants people to think. You don't declare martial law when you think you got everything settled. So read into that what you want. Trump is being deposed today. This is the E. Jean Carroll rape accusation suit. Don't have anything more to say about that. You can look it up if you want. But former president of the United States being deposed today in a Manhattan courtroom. That's a big deal. And I don't know 9 months from now, these deposition tapes will be leaked, and that'll be the top story of the day in 9 months. Pig drones. Pig drones are a thing that are trending today. Pig drones are what are being blamed on a month ago or so, maybe a little bit more, the Nord Stream pipeline, which fuels Europe, gives all of the gas to Europe from Russia. Not all of it, but a very large part of it. Russia exports a lot of gas to Europe, and he's not really getting along great with Europe right now. So the Nord Stream pipeline had been considered off limits, right? Let's come on, rules of war and all. Let's not blame people in Luxembourg and make them suffer because you got some stuff going on with Ukraine. So the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up. Pig drones are what was used now. Pig drones are these drones that are used to clean the pipelines. The pig drones go inside the pipes and they kind of clean them out, right? So what is being put forth now is that Putin used pig drones packed with explosives and blew up key portions of the pipeline. Now, why would he do this? Well, he'd do this because he wants to strangle the gas prices for Europe. He wants Europe to pay a price, especially now heading into winter, for, siding with the Ukraine. So, pig drones, though. That's why pig drones are trending. And by the way, there's the crazy, they want you to, some crazy people want you to believe that the Europeans or possibly the Americans, blaming us for blowing up. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. We wouldn't do. That's the gas we need. That's the gas they need. That's not a thing. The only person who gains an advantage through a disruption in the flow of oil out of Russia into Europe are the Russians. It makes no sense. Why would we blow it up to help them in their war effort? It just makes no sense. Kanye West is trending again. You guys, can we be done with Kanye? Yesterday we talked about he was trending because he went on some, I don't know what he did. I don't even know where he said it. I don't care, but it was made public, so it doesn't really matter where he said it because now it's out there everywhere. He said that George Floyd died from fentanyl because he was a fentanyl guy. Okay, whatever. Say what you want, man. You can say it, but then you have to take responsibility for what you said, and you have to suffer whatever repercussions may come because of your thoughts. That's why we have to be thoughtful. That's why we have to be considered before we actually say things. A lot of people I'm just running my mouth. What? I can't have free speech? No, you can have free speech. You can say whatever you want. But you also have to understand that there is a backhand with free speech, which means you say something terrible. Now, I'm a big believer in let the market bear it out. Like, for instance, if you got a dude in a small town that is making cakes and he refuses to make cakes for the gay couple that wants a wedding cake, he refuses to do that. Let him refuse to do it. He should be refused. He should be allowed. It's his business. He should be allowed to be refused to service that kind of thing, especially if he's claiming that it goes against his moral conscience, right? If that's a thing for him. However, if people don't want to go because they realize that this person is making these decisions, then his business will suffer. That we cannot have, this isn't a thing either, by the way. The government doesn't come in and shut down businesses for not selling gay cake, right? That's not a thing. I know it's put out there. But look, man, if people want to say horrible things and they're attached to a brand or something, let them say the horrible things. And then let's see what happens. But this whole thing where there is no government agency that shuts down people for saying shit. What we have is a mob of people, an organized group of people who gather together and decide that they're going to take action against this person. And you know what? You know what I feel about that? The so-called woke mob? That's the market. That's the market. If, I get upset when you see big corporations, and for lack of a better word, I'll use canceling. When somebody says something idiotic, and look, a lot of these things are idiotic that people say. When somebody says something idiotic, and then the mob comes after them, the social mob, and then the mob of, I don't know, say 50,000 people send emails to Procter & Gamble or whatever major corporate entity. And then Procter & Gamble, the corporation, folds like a wet deck of cards. When they just go, we got 50,000 emails in the last 24 hours. This person must be canceled and we must completely distance ourselves. One of the things that I learned from Trump, which I appreciate, this is not an endorsement, but one of the things that I learned is if you just say whatever you want and then everybody goes nuts about it, just sit tight. Just wait it out. Just be like, yeah, okay, get it out of your system. And then they move on to something else. Now, if somebody says something particularly egregious and the mob doesn't move on to something else, then maybe, the company might want to take action and distance themselves from it. But this idea that people just without investigation, without any consideration, are just being canceled because in the moment, a group of people are like, get rid of them. Wait it out. Just wait it out. Give it 3-4 days. Let's see. If it's particularly egregious, it won't go away and you may have to take action. But this idea that you react quickly, we reacted instantly when we saw the tweet. Oh, stop it. Come on. It's not just wait. People, again, Trump taught us, we move on. Somebody said, we were having a conversation the other day and somebody said, what is the worst thing in your opinion that Trump ever said or did? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have an example. I really don't have an example because in my opinion, there's so much of it. There was so much of it. I couldn't pick one. It's like when I was a kid and my mom would be like, clean your room. And I'd walk into my room. I don't know where to start. Where do I start with this room? This room is insane. So look, just white knuckle it, man. If people just white knuckle it, maybe we'll see how severe it truly was. Now, why is Kanye trending? He's trending because the family of George Floyd is suing him for $250 million for his statements about George Floyd dying from fentanyl. I will have you know that as far as I've seen on the Twitters and on the Facebooks, the people who are most upset about this lawsuit being brought from, what is it, slander or whatever, I don't know, particularly what this would be. But the people who are most upset by this are including their defense of Alex Jones in their defense. So I'm like, okay, credibility gone. Stop it. But that's it. In the Alex Jones is a great example. In the days, in the moments, in the hours, in the day following the Alex Jones verdict, the Alex Jones defenders were quiet. And then after a few days, now they all have opinions and hot takes. Why? Because the narrative has been fed to them. They are just parroting back what the people that they want. They read some articles. That's a good line. I'm going to use that line the next time I tweet in defense of Alex Jones. Or they watched, somebody crazy on Weekend OAN, and they're like, yeah, that was a good argument. That sounds smart. If I tweet that, people will think I sound smart. That's what happened. Nobody was defending Alex Jones in the first day or two. And then suddenly now it's all like, Alex Jones is being wronged. It's like, okay, you picked that, you watched some coverage of it from the sources that you like to get your information from. And now you're just repeating what they're saying because that feeds your personal narrative, your personal bias on the whole situation. Whether or not George Floyd's family has a case or not, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to me that if my family member died and it was accepted, tried, and adjudicated that he died this way, and then a very wealthy celebrity took a big platform and said, nope, he was a fentanyl addict, or nope, he was on drugs, that's actionable. That's actionable against the legacy of the individual. That's actionable against the family. It's not. I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. But, they can bring this case. They're allowed to. That's how it works. Whether they'll get anything, I don't know. Here's what they'll get. They'll get settled. Kanye's sitting on a big giant pile of money, right? And Kanye's like, woohoo, he's running down the street, banging pots and pans, being crazy. But he's not alone sitting on this big pile of money. He got people. He got bankers. He got guys in suits. He got guys that are in charge of this money. They'll cut a deal. The family of George Floyd will be given an amount of money, maybe not $250,000, to make this thing go away. And then the ball is in the family's court. We'll see if they accept it or not. Super COVID is trending. Did you see this? What the hell is wrong with us? So a team of scientists from Boston University have apparently in their lab created a super COVID with an 80% kill rate. Oh, that's what they did. They instead of working on how to stop COVID from ever happening again, these scientists are working on how to make an even worse COVID. Let's just do that. I'm not a scientist, and maybe a scientist could explain to me in a way that I would understand why this would ever be a thing, but they did it. They did it by combining the Omicron virus with the original Wuhan virus, and apparently now in a lab in Boston, there is... See any problem with that? Now in a lab in Boston somewhere, there's a vial of super COVID that if it gets out, has an 80% kill rate. Will just kill 80% of the people who get it. Unless this is like one of those corporate money grabs, right? Where they're like, what if we create an even worse one? But then simultaneously, while we're working on creating the worse one, we work on a vaccine that will stop it. And then we unleash. Now I sound like a QAnon guy. Now I sound crazy, but I don't know. That sounds more likely. Corporate greed. Look, you can give me any conspiracy that is out there. And if you can convince me that there is a way for somebody, some big corporate entity to make money off of this conspiracy, then I'll believe it a little bit. I'll be like, yeah, conspiracies aren't driven by, the lizard people who want to mine all of our brains. That's not what conspiracies are about. People trying to make money. Conspiracies are all people engage in conspiracy to the financial benefit of the conspirator. That's basically what. So if you tell me that, yeah, they funded this research on this super COVID because they then want to turn around and be able to make a super vaccine so that when they unleash the super COVID, people will die, they'll get all scared, and then they'll be lining up for our new vaccine. That I believe. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying that's what I would believe. I believe something like that. We got a shooting in South Lake that's trending. South Lake, Texas. I don't know if you saw this. This is we had a love triangle situation. Apparently, a 28-year-old dude was dating a girl and they broke up and she started dating a new guy. And somewhere in North Richland Hills, the old boyfriend found the new boyfriend and shot him dead, murdered him. This caused a police all points bulletin, a bolo, a be on the lookout for the individual who they found in a parking lot in a shopping center in South Lake, Texas. He exited the car. The police surrounded him, lights going, woo, woo, whole big scene. Dude exited the car with his gun, and South Lake police put him down. That seems to me to be a completely justified shooting. This dude had just murdered somebody. He had led police on a small chase, pulled into a parking lot, exited his vehicle, pointing a gun at the police. He was put down. So there you have it. South Lake, exciting things. By the way, I got to imagine this is one of the rare times that the South Lake police have been involved in a police shooting, right? South Lake is one of the wealthiest suburbs in the world. I mean, South Lake is. Have you been to South Lake? South Lake doesn't have crime like this. This is, I guess North Richland Hills does. So this is like North Richland Hills spillover into South Lake. Let's see here. What else? This is a very dark and very disgusting story, but it sort of speaks to the crazy that I was just getting into about conspiracy theories. So, we have all of we are agitating the lunatics. Look, lunatics have money too, right? A lot of times you can, who easier to bilk cash out of than crazy people. So there's been, I've noticed, seemingly anyway, an organized effort to sort of gather up everybody crazy in America and feed them with absolute bullshit, get them all ginned up, and then ask them to buy your vitamins that you're selling in your stream store or whatever the hell it is, right? You just described Alex Jones's entire business model. I did. I just described Alex Jones' entire business model. So what is the danger? I guess the defense of that would be, what? We're just an entertainment show. We're just streaming and we're talking about the lizard people and how that we're all going to be putting collars and, well, what's the danger is you got to have some responsibility. If you have a platform, if you have a voice, you must have some form of responsibility for what it is that you say. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That is the example. That is what why can't I do free speech, First Amendment? Why can't I stand up in a theater and go fire? Because people will be trampled, because there will be injuries, because there will be problems. That's why. And look, it doesn't mean exactly fire in a crowded movie theater. It means you cannot use your speech to incite any kind of dangerous situation for the general public. Okay, that's what it is. Now, that is what I would say is the danger of all of this QAnon nonsense, all of this silly stuff. They are targeting people who are obviously, got brain scramblies. They are targeting people who are, they're not all crazy. Yeah, they are. You don't think there's that many crazy people in this country with serious mental health issues that either are or are not getting treatment for it? They are out there. They are all out there. That's crazy. Come on, man. We know this. We see them. We see these examples in the news every day of somebody who just snapped or who was on the verge of snapping and they shot a guy in a car because the dude didn't use his turn signal or something crazy. The degrees of crazy that are out there. And that is crazy. That's not crazy. That's just a guy who snapped. Yeah, well, snapped is a very pedestrian way of talking about somebody who was on the edge of a mental breakdown, okay? That's what snapping is. You snapped. You lost your mental foundation. You lost your ability to control your most base instincts, actions, needs, desires, whatever it is. That's what snapping is. So here's the story of a QAnon guy. Where is this? Oh my God, hold on, wait a second. So I don't have the exact story. But that's okay. I can tell you from memory. I accidentally, you know what? I'm glad I don't have the story because the details of the story are absolutely insane. So a man in California murdered his two nephews. He murdered them by burning them alive. One was 5 months old and one was 13 months old. He did this by trapping them in a bedroom, locking the door, and then pouring gasoline underneath the door and all over the door. And little babies. These are little babies. He burned them alive. And then when the mother said, "What are you doing?" As he's pouring gasoline all over outside the nursery, he doused his sister with gasoline and lit her on fire. She did not die. She just has major burns over all over. This poor woman. Imagine this woman married to a crazy, or not married to, but she has a crazy brother who's probably living with her because he's crazy and can't hold a job. And, she's the sister and she's taking care of him. I'm just speculating here, but so the brother kills her children in the most obscene and atrocious way possible. These babies. And then he tries to kill her. And then, of course, the fire department comes. He's standing on the lawn, and he's obviously arrested. And apparently there's video of this. I have not seen the video yet. But he is claiming, and his lawyers are like, he's obviously nuts, okay? This has got to be insanity. This can't be capital murder with special circumstances. This can't be death penalty. He's obviously crazy. So here's what he said. He said that he murdered his nephews because he's a QAnon guy, because they are a part of a global conspiracy to human clone and abduct other children. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, it doesn't make any sense. But he believes that all the kids in the world are now clones because, like, the lizard people or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into this. But that's what he said the reason was. And he doesn't regret it. He says that I would do it again. This is my job. This is bigger than me. And he was asked how he became involved. Where did this theory come from? And he said, well, a few years ago, I was in a bar and I was abducted by Millie Bobby Brown. The girl from Stranger Things, the little girl from Stranger Things. He was abducted by Millie Bobby Brown and John Bon Jovi's son. He abducted him, a grown-ass man, in like some Bakersfield bar a few years ago, and they told him all about this. They told him all about this conspiracy. Millie Bobby Brown of Stranger Things and John Bon Jovi's son. And when you do the math, it turns out that this grown-ass man was abducted from a bar in California by, at the time, a 13-year-old English girl and a 15-year-old son of John Bon Jovi. So I'm laughing because it's so uncomfortable. It's so absurd. But so when you ask yourselves, what are the dangers of riling up the crazy people? What are this kind of shit? All right. This isn't a mall shooting, but this is an unbelievably unimaginable tragedy that occurred to a toddler's 13-month-old and a 5-year-old. And he has no regrets because he believes he's part of something bigger and that he would do this again. And his lawyer is saying, can't kill this guy. Obviously, this guy is off his rocker. I would agree. I would agree that he needs to be human veal. That's it. I don't know how do you fix this? Can you fix this? You can't fix this. He just needs to be removed from society and kept under wraps. Ivan Reitman is trending. We talked about it being his son's birthday today. Jason Reitman, the film director, it's his birthday. Ivan Reitman is trending today because Anna Faris, who I like a lot. I mean, I seem to enjoy Anna Faris as an individual. I can't say that I've seen a whole bunch of her movies, but I'm a fan of Anna Faris, I guess. Anna Faris is claiming that Ivan Reitman slapped her butt and yelled at her on the 2006 film set of Rain. Or no, what was the film they were doing? It's not. My Super Ex-Girlfriend. My Super Ex-Girlfriend, which is a movie that I enjoy. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I actually caught it. It's not a movie that I sought out, but it's one of those movies that I just ended up watching, and I'm like, this is kind of fun. Stars Uma Thurman and Luke Wilson. Uma Thurman is a superhero, and Luke Wilson is her boyfriend, and they break up. And dating a superhero is tough, especially, but Uma Thurman as the superhero then engages in this. She uses her superpowers to basically just ruin her ex-boyfriend's life. And Anna Faris plays a coworker of Luke Wilson, who's in love with him secretly. That whole thing, the stupid romantic subplot that I like a lot. But there's some laughs. It's pretty funny. Anna Faris is opening up about inappropriate conduct she says she experienced from late director Ivan Reitman on the set of My Super Ex-Girlfriend. On Wednesday's episode of her Anna Faris is Unqualified podcast, the 45-year-old actress and podcast host told guest Lena Dunham that one of her hardest film experiences was with Reitman, who died at age 75 in February. She says, I mean, the idea of attempting to make a comedy under this, like Reign of Terror, he was a yeller, Ferris told Dunham. The attempt to make comedy. Ivan Reitman is responsible in some way for every amazing comedy of the last 30 years. So don't act like he didn't know what he was doing. Like, okay, Anna, you were a young girl. You were, I think she says she was like 20. Actually, I don't know again. She was a young girl and she experienced a director who was yelling. Now, why was she yelled at? She was yelled at because she was 20 minutes late to set. She admits that, but she admits it with an excuse. She says she spilled wig glue on her in the dressing room. And that's why she was 25 minutes late to set. Whatever. Rule number one in Hollywood, rule number one in show business, don't be late. So if the director is pissed off because you, Anna Faris, show up late, you're going to get yelled at, man. You don't just, oh, I spilled some wig glue. That doesn't erase the whole thing. We don't even know if that's true. That might just be your excuse. I have a 13-year-old who's constantly coming up with excuses that I think are absolute BS. So she got yelled at. The more troubling one comes where she was up on a ladder and they were about to film, and Ivan Reitman apparently slapped her on the butt and said, let's go, and then slapped her on the butt. Okay, that's... I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It's a thing that used to happen. Guys used to slap women's asses all the time. They used to pinch women's asses. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy to think that that's a thing that happened, but let's see here. It says he was just like Annie. So this is how he yelled at her. He was just like Annie. He always called me Annie, she says. He's like, you can't play like that around here, being late. And I was like, don't do it. Don't cry. No crying. And I felt angry and I felt hurt and humiliated and defensive, she recalled. That's it. That's what he did. That's according to her. That was his rage. Annie, you can't play like this around here. She was late. She felt bad because she was late, maybe because she was owning part of it internally and she understood that it was her fault and she didn't like that she was being... But that's not a monster. That's not a monstrous rage. He was just like, Annie, you can't play like that around here. And I was like, don't cry. Don't do it. No crying. And I felt angry and I felt hurt and I felt humiliated. There are real monsters out there. Every time one of these little, well, I had a situation like that and here's where it is. Every time you offer something that isn't truly an offense, truly, you degrade the greater cause. We are all on the side of getting these monsters, but you just can't water it down like this. That's the problem with Me Too, because you see, Me Too started out, in my opinion, as something that was a very good cause. Let's do it. Let's get rid of the casting couch once and for all, and let's call out these guys who think that they can offer roles for BJs or whatever it is. That's fine. Let's call out those people. Those are egregious and gross examples of someone lording authority over a lesser, right? Those are great. But man, every time you go, yeah, but Ivan Reitman, he was a monster on the set. He screamed at me and I felt terrible. He didn't scream. According to your own retelling of the story, he just said, Annie, you can't play like that around here, which, and then got back into filming. Now, the ass slapping thing, that's one. Let's see what that was. She says, I was doing a scene where I was on a ladder and I was supposed to be taking books off a shelf. And he slapped my ass in front of the crew so hard, she said at the time. And all I could do was giggle. She says, I remember looking around and remember seeing the crew members being like, wait, what are you going to do about that? Okay, I don't believe that. I think that's revisionist history. I don't believe that in 2006 this occurred to a unknown actress. She wasn't big. She was, well, I mean, she's not even big now, but she wasn't like a big actress back then. Hell, she was like the fourth lead in this movie. She wasn't even, this was Uma Thurman and Owen Wilson, or Luke Wilson, Uma Thurman, Luke Wilson, and an Ivan Reitman directed comedy. That's the power trio right there. And everyone was looking at me like, wait, what are you going to do about that? That seemed weird that he had done that. And that's how I dismissed it, Ferris added. I was like, well, this isn't a thing. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Buck up, Ferris. Like, just giggle. But it made me feel small. He wouldn't have done that to the lead male. See, this is what's unfair. This is something that I don't think that women understand. No, you're right. He wouldn't have slapped the ass of the lead male, unless he maybe, although I don't even know that it was sexual. And in that context, maybe he would have slapped the ass of the lead male. But this idea that men are only monstrous towards women is completely wrong, man. Men are monstrous to other men in different ways, much more, maybe not as well, because you would, in most cases, think that we're removing the sexual aspect of it, right? So when an Ivan Reitman slaps Anna Faris's ass, that is, you could say there's some sexual element to that, although not necessarily, but because it's the butt, and that is a sexy thing, I guess. You could say that, well, was there a sexual aspect? You can't do it with a straight man when he's abusing his lead man. You know what I mean? You can't. But men, this idea that like we have this men's club, like how are we going to be mean to women today? No, men are mean across the board. Okay, men are mean to other men. Men are. It's just there isn't a sexual aspect to it. There is no, there isn't that thing. Ferris also added that in 2017 on a podcast episode that she remembered that same director, Ivan Reitman, telling my agent, who told me that I had great legs. And that was one of the reasons that I got hired. Okay, so Ivan Reitman, after the film, years after, in 2017, or no, I'm sorry. The podcast was in 2017. So at some point, Ivan Reitman told her agent that she has great legs. And that's kind of the deal. That's the reason that she got the job. She's got great legs. She's an actress. What is Farrah Fawcett? Did she ever complain that she got Charlie's Angels because she was a smoke show? So, yeah, the only reason I got cast as the smoking hot blonde on Charlie's Angels is because I'm a smoke show. You're a beautiful actress, Annis. Yeah, you're playing, you have to play opposite Uma Thurman, who is gorgeous, especially back then. Tall, blonde, you're a little bit different kind of woman, but you got the role because you were believable as a rival to this super character, this superhero character. It's just really, that's something he got. I only got the role because of my legs. Well, yeah, okay, all right. And Brad Pitt has a career because of his face. Same thing can be said for George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio. People have advantages, natural. Sometimes those advantages serve them well in life. Ferris also added in 2017 podcast episode that she remembered that same director telling her agent that I had great legs, and that was one of the reasons that I got hired. And listen, and this is what she says about that. And listen, that's an effing great compliment. I like my legs, she said at the time. But that sort of informed my whole experience with that project. I don't think the male lead got hired because he had great legs. No, the male lead got hired because he's Luke Wilson and he's handsome. Okay? They didn't cast Steve Buscemi in that role. They didn't. They cast Luke Wilson because he has what casting directors call leading man good looks. All right? So it's not legs, but it's face. It's the same thing. Why are you not understanding this? But that sort of informed my whole experience with that project. I don't think the male lead got hired because he had great legs. No, because the legs weren't important. But he has a strong jawline. He's got a masculine jawline, and he's got piercing eyes. That's... You sound like you're hot for Luke Wilson. I'm not even sure. Come on. Half of this conversation, I was confusing Luke Wilson with Owen Wilson. I don't even know who I'm talking about. And then she admits that it was a compliment, that she was complimented by him. But now he's dead. And the reason I'm taking up for him is because Ivan Reitman has caused a lot of joy in my life, and he's caused a lot of joy in a lot of people's life. And the man's been dead now for about 9-10 months. And these things, you're dragging him through the mud on his son Jason's birthday. These things, you're dragging him through the mud for these transgressions. I mean, come on, man. Can we just stop? The Me Too has spun off into, what can I say happened to me that will get me publicity today? That's it. Every time these things come out, it forces people to see the next one and just roll their eyes. And you know what? The next one might be one that we shouldn't be rolling our eyes about. The next one might be important. The next one might be one that we need to get this person. But these things, come on. Stop it, Ivan Reitman. Wouldn't have Ghostbusters without Ivan Reitman. We wouldn't have Animal House. We wouldn't have Cat. He's involved in Cat. He's involved in all of these things. All of these things. Here's another example. Terry Francona, the manager of the Cleveland Guardians, is trending today. I hope he's all right. I hope that he's not going to be devastated by this. But he's trending because people are commenting on his weight gain. Fat Terry is what they're calling him now. Fat Terry. Imagine if they called Anna Faris Fat Anna. What if she gained some weight because she's now 60? Now I know I know that it's different. I know that women and men they metastasize these kinds of situations differently, for lack of a more appropriate word. But come on, Terry Francona is trending today because he gained weight, because he's Fat Terry now. And people are like, oh, Fat Terry, ha. What, he doesn't have feelings? Terry Francona doesn't? He's like, why are you doing that? Imagine if this was Doris Burke. Imagine if it was Doris Burke. And not that Doris Burke would have a problem with it, because Doris Burke is a cool-ass lady. But imagine if Doris Burke, the NBA announcer, the NBA analyst, the NBA big personality. By the way, I'm very excited. NBA is back. Very excited for this season. I'm wearing my Jordan warm-up jersey. Imagine if Doris Burke, you said about Doris Burke got fat this year. Look, Fat Doris. I mean, that would be a huge thing. People would be outraged. How dare you, talk about her physical appearance? Well, Terry Francona is trending today because people want to know, why did Terry get so fat? Another thing that's trending today is a new sleep study. This is interesting. How much sleep you guys getting? I get pretty good sleep. I mean, I think that I sleep on average between 6 and 8 hours a night. It's pretty good. Last night, I slept a good 8 hours, 8+ hours. Slept in a little bit because I knew that I had this big meeting. I wanted to be well rested for it. Yeah. Here's what they've determined. 5 hours of sleep or less. Did you get 5 hours of sleep or less? If you get 5 hours or sleep, 5 hours of sleep per night or less, then you have a much higher possibility of chronic disease. Chronic disease, they did a study. Apparently, it was a long-ass study. I don't want to go into the details because I'm running out of time here on the show today. But they did this study and they determined that people, you get more than 5 hours of sleep. Okay, if you are living on 5 hours or less of sleep for an extended period of time, just be aware that doctors and scientists have now determined it's not good for you, that you have a much more highly likelihood of contracting some kind of chronic disease or something. All right. And the last thing that is trending that we will mention, and I'm going to jump into we're not going to jump off just yet. The last thing that is trending that I found interesting, Sansa versus Daenerys. Oh God, he's gonna do some Game of Thrones talk. No, I'm not. I just find this interesting that there are two kinds of people in this world. People who, actually three, because I'm gonna start a new category. There are people in the Game of Thrones universe who are either Team Sansa or Team Daenerys, and there's no real reason for this except for the last few episodes where these two characters didn't even interact at all for the first for 99% of the series. But Sansa versus Daenerys is a big argument, and Daenerys is winning. And if I had to choose, like who, so I guess the question is, who would be the better ruler in Game of Thrones, right? That's what people are saying. Who would be the better ruler? And people are like, Sansa sucks, Sansa sucks. I mean, I think Daenerys would be a truly great ruler, Daenerys, Mother of Dragons. I think she'd be fantastic, but she's also a little crazy. Daenerys is a little bit crazy about her whole, I'm a Targaryen, I'm supposed to be here. You people are less than me, Sansa is also a bit of a bitch, but Sansa evolved her character. She grew into a woman. So the very idea of Sansa being queen in the North, no problem with me. I don't have it. I don't know why all these people online are like, Sansa sucks, Sansa sucks. I'm like, I don't know, she kind of redeemed herself. Sansa became the daughter of Ned Stark, Ned and Catelyn Stark, that we all wanted her to be. So, really, let's be honest. Sansa versus Daenerys is trending because it's a pervy thing. It's like guys are like, which one do you want to be with? They're trying to couch it with who would be better, but really it's falling down along the lines of, do you like blondes like Daenerys, Queen of Dragons, or do you like hot redheads like Sansa Stark? That's why Sansa versus Daenerys is trending today. By the way, I'm all caught up on House of Dragon, which is I've got the episode from this past week to watch. I'm just not loving it. It's all right. I don't know how many more episodes we've got in this first season, but honestly, if it doesn't kick into high gear, I don't know how interested I'm going to be in a second season of House of Dragon, which is the prequel, the story of the Targaryen dynasty. No, trending number one right now. Number one. I just refreshed, trending number one, at least on Twitter. Sansa. Sansa is now trending number one. A viral tweet discussing villains of the Game of Thrones universe, including the character Sansa, has generated some debate. What is the debate? If the debate is Sansa is a villain, then the debate is over. She's not a villain. She's a Stark. None of the Starks are villains. Okay. She's not a villain. Seriously, I could talk about Game of Thrones for an entire show, but I seem to think it would just be me and Jeff Ballard who would be getting into it. It doesn't seem like anybody else really cares. Let's see here. Oh my God, look at this. Circle K, ladies and gentlemen. Circle K. Circle Ks. Do we have Circle Ks here in Texas? We don't have them in the Midwest, but I know that they're all over the West Coast and they're on the East Coast and stuff like that. I've been in a Circle K. I was in a Circle K in Los Angeles. And I was like, oh, look at me in a Circle K. This is so cool. It's like right out of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, because that's where Bill and Ted hung out. Circle K is trending because gas station chain Circle K signed a deal to begin selling marijuana at its licensed Florida locations in 2023. Florida has legal weed? Well, I don't know what this is. How Florida has legal weed? I didn't think Florida had legal weed. I'll be very impressed if Florida has legal weed, because, you think of like highly conservative Florida. If highly conservative Florida can sell and legalize weed, then seriously, Texas can't be far behind. Circle K will now sell marijuana out of their gas stations in Florida starting next year. Let's see. All right. You know what? I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but anyway, I'll figure that out. No taxes and legal weed. Florida, you're looking better. Don't forget the alligators, hurricanes, and all the, people. Yeah, that's right. That's right. There are. I'd have to weigh Florida. No state taxes. No state taxes. Wait, which one would it be? Which one have you? Anyway, you get what I'm saying. No state taxes and legal weed. But I don't even know if it's legal weed, so never mind. Still don't like alligators, still don't like gigantic mosquitoes, and can't say that I'm fond of the Florida man. So, you got to put up with that. Why is Oprah trending? Why is Oprah trending? Do I even want to? No, I don't want to know. It's got to be politics. So let's stay away from that. All right, that's going to do it. Folks, thank you so much. I apologize for the shortened show today. We will be on tonight for Pillow Talk with myself and James Parker. I got a place I got to be in the next, just about the next hour or so. So thank you. Appreciate you joining us. We do this every Monday through Friday. Hold on. I'm distracted. Got to get our theme song going. There we go. All right. Another reminder, my show on 97.1 The Freak, Mansplaining with me, Pugs Moran, and he, Dr. Robert Schwartz. Special time this week. We're getting a nice little showcase, thanks to the folks at The Freak, 97.1. We will be on Friday night instead of Saturday night. Got to be honest with you. The Saturday night shows have not been fun. They have been brutal. They have been brutal. Nobody is participating on Saturday. Sunday, we got great. Sunday, we have very good, what I call organic participation. Organic participation are people who are actually listening, who are calling in on their own to contribute. We're getting a lot of good stuff there. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. On Sunday of last week, there were only 2 planted calls, which were people who I knew were going to be calling in, even though I didn't necessarily know what they were going to be saying. We only had 2 on Sunday. The rest of everything, I think we took 9, 10 calls, and then we had people. Like, we had a crap ton of people that we lost. We lost because when you get put on hold, look, it's a new station. It's brand new studios, working out the bugs here. When people are put on hold, you can't hear the show, which completely defeats the purpose of being put on hold for a radio talk show. So people are calling in, wanting to participate, and then they get put on hold, and it's just nothing for like 5, 6, 7 minutes. And they can't be blamed for going, I think I might be disconnected. I think this might be, and they hang up. And so we're losing. So that's a problem. The other problem is for you people listening on the stream, and this was only a stream issue. There is a problem with the stream. There's a problem with the noise, the volume on the stream. Apparently, when we rejoin, the music is way too loud and you can't even hear what we're saying. That is not what's happening over the air. If you were just listening, on the radio, that is not what you'd be hearing. But for some reason on the stream, it's like insane. Oh, Adam says there's a Circle K in Corinth. Okay, very cool. Didn't know that. Not going to make the trip, but it's good to know that there is a Circle K around here. So tonight, or Friday night, we're going to move the Saturday show to Friday night and see if we can get a little bit better participation from people. Sunday's not good. We love Sunday. Sunday, the Sunday audience is fun. That audience is cool. A lot of times they've been drinking. They've been watching football. And even this past Sunday, we were competing with the Cowboys game on Sunday Night Football, and we still had some action. The previous Sunday to that was even better. The previous Sunday to that was awesome. Saturdays, oh my God. As Schwartz said in the chat room a couple days ago, we will never speak of the Saturday show again, because there was a Saturday show last week that was just, it wasn't work. I mean, we were fine, but it was just, there was a problem with, the calls. And when you're trying to be a 100% caller-driven show, you kind of need the calls. So to that end, if you want to participate in the show this week, if you've got something you want to talk to us about, you can send me a note. mansplainingradio@gmail.com. That's mansplainingradio@gmail.com. I'll hit you back. We'll talk a little bit. We'll figure out, what it is that's going on here. If you want to let me know a few details, I'll tell you if that's something we want to get into or not. But I don't want too many details. We want to be able to react authentically. So if you're interested, hit me up. mansplainingradio@gmail.com. We'll see you tonight at 9 o'clock for Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Bye, everybody.